is the Royal Blue. And these were a design that carried over from the O scale version that was pre-war, and they switched to S scale starting in 1948, and they made a couple different variants of that, which this is one of those. It might be, I'd have to dig through my notes to know for sure, but I think this might be it's either a 2 or 3 variant from 1948. Some of the telltales of the early versions are you've got the additional logo. Sometimes it's here, sometimes it's there. The earliest ones actually have indented tenders where the wording is, and they have a disconnect trailing truck, kind of like you see with the early Atlantics, and then the trailing bar actually comes up to a bar in the cab that's the number 1 variation, if memory serves. And then the other thing that's noteworthy about the early ones is they have the applied metal handrails. And then after 48, they took a couple-year hiatus, and when they came back in 1950, the side rods had been integrated into the chassis. You can see the additional emblem is gone, and we've now got a blackened metal trawl bar versus the silver / chrome, nickel, candium, whatever that metal is. It's nice and shiny and very beautiful. But other than those features, and of course the type font changed, as you can see here, these pretty much remained identical, especially mechanically. What John would like me to do is go through these and kind of do a cleanup where possible, fine-tune them, replace the link couplers with knuckle couplers, and just get them into the finest condition possible, which is quite a privilege. I thank you, John, for that. So I thought I'd just bring you all on board as I apply power here to the one in the back. This is a real one. We can hear the reverse unit not really cycling. There, it cycled. So it's not turning. I can tell that just by listening. That's the lockout, so that doesn't get us anywhere. I did hear the motor try to turn, so I'm not sure. Probably have both some finger issues in the reverse unit, and who knows what else. So that's the deal with that one. And now I'm going to pause the camera and I'll reverse these 2 engines, and we'll see if this one operates at all. Okay, so we've got the 1950 variant here now on the test stand. And I guess I should put the reverse, or take the lock lever off. Okay, that's good. I hear the reverse actually turning. Okay, so here's a couple things just as a reminder. I guess we can get, looks like he's got some packing foam up in there. But here's something that I've mentioned in the past, that if you're trying to do some diagnostic work on an engine, check to see if you've got a headlight. We've got no headlight. Now, it could be that the bulb's burned out, but it could be that we've got broken wires. Now, since the reverse unit is moving, that tells me the wiring from the tender up through is good, at least relatively good. But there's something going on from the reverse unit to the motor, and potentially from the reverse unit to the headlight. And it seems to be the case with this one as well. So I'll have to take them apart to get more information than that, but thought I'd bring you along for this exploratory first look at these beautiful, beautiful Royal Blues. This happens to be a Royal Blue that I picked up a while back. I think it might have been a purchase from a nearby town. And I went ahead and pursued it just because, again, it was the earlier version 48 with the metal railing. And if you look carefully through the scratches and paint loss, you can see that this is the same stamping as what John's is in the back. Here's the other side, which looks a little better. Now, I do have the rest of the pieces, but this is one that I took apart and then went on to other projects while I waited, because I've got to get a replacement side rod eccentric, which it's, again, in my experience, it's common to find that this piece has been broken off. In this case, it's gone even further, so I have a little more work to do. It's always challenging for me to know, what to do with something like this, because honestly, that does not look very nice. This side does look almost presentable, and I can clean this up a little bit, but I mean, it's just a shame because you can repaint these, but it's never going to be the same, because even if a person has the stamps, to get that kind of look is going to be pretty difficult to do. So it's always just kind of makes me sad. And I know one of these that I purchased from another collector that I typically run actually doesn't have the matching tender, and the guy I bought it from, he said, if you want the original tender, here it is, and it looked like this, on all sides, and he said, or I can give you, this tender that's not really a match, but at least it's not suffering from so many paint voids, I guess is the nice way of putting it. So anyhow, when you can find them that are nicer than this, that's really cool. One other thing I thought I would just mention, and I don't know how well it comes through this phone, but can you see the slightly different shades of blue? So this one back here and this one here kind of have similar shades. Well, they're actually a little bit different. Okay. But so here we have royal blues. This is, I'm dead sure these are all original factory paints, but notice how they're all three different hues. I just find that fascinating. And somewhere I remember reading that at one point, and so this would have been with the later styles, they actually had painted up a bunch of circus engines, which the circus engines didn't sell very well, which is one of the reasons they're worth so much now. There just weren't that many of them. And so sometimes you'll find from the factory a circus engine that's been painted over, and it kind of changes the color of the blue, because you can slightly see the red bleed through. Now, it doesn't turn it purple or doesn't, make it really obvious, but it does create just a slightly different hue of blue. It's also fascinating to me that at one point I bought a can of paint match, a spray can of paint match paint for a royal blue, and it's been interesting as I've tried to use that. It's always, it's a darker blue, so it's more like this. So if I go to touch up an engine that's got this color, I mean, it stands out just as bad as the original scratch. So, it makes it really challenging when you've got this kind of variation with royal blues to, do much touch up with them, because everyone's different. Okay, so this is the 1950 royal blue that John sent me. And I just applied power, spun the armature, and got nothing. Checked the fingers. They appear to be okay without looking closer. And then I heard something, and so I spun the armature, and it's trying to go. A couple possibilities here based on what I'm seeing, and it's starting to pick up. So one thing we can do is we can put a little oil on here and see what happens. I'm putting some oil at the front of the commutator or armature. You can see that helped, and we'll put some in the oil wick back here and see if that helps. So both of those things are helping. So we've got a little issue with just lack of lubrication, but that's not the real problem. I suspect, based on the fact that this is really sparking, that we might have either a weak spring or a worn brush that's, they're just too short. And so the spring, is kind of pushed as far as it can, but it can't go any further because the brush is just worn out. But let's go ahead and see if we can get the other direction, which will throw the commutator the other way. That is a lot of sparking. More than there should be. Notice the one on this side is fine. That one's got a lot of... There's just enough of a gap there that we're getting the sparking. So again, that kind of lends credence to a weak spring or worn brush. Let's go ahead and go the other direction. Come on. Come on. Good news is the reverse unit. So let's just push these fingers down a tiny bit. Nothing. Now, okay, one other concern that I hope doesn't turn into anything is, once again, look at the color of wire on this armature. I'm gonna, when I take it out of the motor, I'm gonna check the ohms reading and just make sure that that's not leading to some issues.